Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange. If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park.
The first two races in North America were tracks where drivers may have been able to pull knowledge from real-life experience. However, it might be a bit more rare to find drivers who set foot at this circuit. Suzuka is legendary, but with it being all the way on the other side of the globe, will it be too foreign for some to master? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Sport Class, live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Michael Johnson. Cameron Aubernon is on social media, and Ryan Bauer is producing while using cameras provided by Doug Beard. But before we get to the racing, Series 10 is brought to you by the Porsche Exchange, which has been family owned and operated for over 40 years. Located on the North Shore of Chicago, the Porsche Exchange has grown to be the largest volume Porsche dealer in the entire Midwest. Along the way, they've won the Porsche Premier Dealership Award for many years in a row and has been chosen to be one of the few Porsche exclusive manufacturer dealerships in the entire country. Find out more at 4Porsche.com or follow at Porsche Exchange on Instagram. Also, Six Sigma Sim Racing is proud to announce the Season 10 Clean Driver Award. One driver in each PCA Sim Racing class will win a Six Sigma Sim Racing $250 merchandise gift certificate. This goes to whoever earns the fewest incident points and license penalty points from their best 6 races this season. For more information, head to sixsigmasimracing.com. That's the number 6, sigmasimracing.com. Well, Suzuka is incredibly technical, kind of notorious for that, Michael, so I think this is going to be a serious test for the drivers.
Serious test, kind of like, the LSAT or passing the bar. This is not an easy track. That turn one combination, the way you go through there, it's kind of that double rate, and it changes its amount of pitch that you're going into, and even like midway through the corner. Then you're going through the snake and around Dunlop. Dunlop sort of flattens out as you're heading up towards Degner. The hairpin always brings surprises. There are 2 excellent ways to go through there. Both are correct. It just depends on what's going on behind you. Watch for cold tires, though, as people try to work their way around Spoon. And when they get to 130R. 130R, first couple of laps, is pretty tricky on cold tires. Then you get into Casio Triangle, and that is going to be an amazing passing opportunity. We're going to watch for those passing opportunities, mostly coming out of 130R, going up into the Casio Triangle. And then again at hairpin, maybe that turn 1-2 combination. Depends on how brave people get.
Indeed. Well, Holland is heading to it right now as we're watching qualifying. Daniel Nix is on the pole and looking like he's pretty good today. Very fast, as he's got 7/10, but not everybody has set a time quite yet. We're going to see if Lee Binkley can improve that. Even in third, he's a full second behind the pole. So right now, Daniel Nix is looking pretty untouchable as he comes around and out of Spoon Curve. I can't say that Binkley is improving by about 3 to 4 tenths, so that will jump him closer, but it's not quick enough for the fastest lap.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about right here, coming into 130R. You have to jump that, but watch right there, getting up on the edge of that curbing, and now hard into the iron right there. Oh, it is tough to bring the speed down, and then make sure you have a little tire left. Hopefully you didn't lock one up as you head around through Casio Triangle, coming up to the start line right here.
As he crosses the line, Binkley's third lap is quicker. It's a 2:05.5, or 2:03.5 rather, and that is going to put him in a second ahead of Ken Eskridge, but he's still 5 tenths off of Daniel Nix, who's actually parked the car and doesn't have enough time to set another lap. It takes a long time to get around here at about 2 minutes, so we wouldn't be able to get around and set a flyer with so little time yet left. Curtis Crummell here, sitting in 10th position, I think has just enough time to finish it up. This is heading up into Spoon now.
Yeah, watch how he's taking up every last millimeter of track. You have to be careful right there. The grass on the outside tosses you out too far here, and that curbing has a weird drop off. Now, right here, hammer down, use every last millimeter of curbing. Well done. Put that hammer down. Now it's that run up to Spoon. You got a couple of seconds to take a breath, relax your shoulders, come up into here. Little dab of the brake if it's still cold. Otherwise, turn and burn, baby. You've got to just fly through there. Probably could have gone a little bit quicker. We'll see if he's able to improve from P10 coming up into the Casio Triangle. Good use of the curbing. Nicely done there. A little bit, could have taken a little more, I think. Now the hammer down again, trying to head for that start line. Turns out he's still going to be right around, well, looks like he improved up to P7.
Yeah, at the last second, he crossed the line with fractions left on it, but Nix looks like he's going to be the man to beat. Binkley will start in P2 as Ken Eskridge will start from third, and Adam Gerling is fourth. Then it's Kevin Yokel in fifth position. Andrew Elsom in sixth. Crummell, we saw him cross the line as the last driver to do so in P7. John Gibson starts eighth, followed by Jason Finch in ninth, and Andy Green rounds out your top 10.
David Palmer is going to be in 11th. Patrick Gill, followed by Ken Boccieri, Michael Adams, Charlie Boyer, Jordan Daniels, Neil Urbish. Robert Neville's going to be in 18th. 19th is going to be Peter Yerxa. Jeff Williams, who rounds out your top 20.
Adam Holland starts 21st, followed by Mark Frost in 22nd. Then it's Steve Komatz, P23. Will Munguia will start in 24th. Akerberg Zona in the 25th position. Then you get to Ward Preston on the outside of that row, as Antonio De Silva will be on the inside of the next one in 27th. Craig Smith starts 28th. Jeff Rose in 29th. And Hillman is the last one to set a time in 30th, with David Krutzler starting in 31st today. Not the biggest of fields, but hopefully that will help us get a nice clean start down into turns 1 and 2. Apparently we had a bit of a problem with the pro category, but the club drivers did manage it, so it is doable.
It is doable. One interesting note, I'm surprised to see Ankerberg Zona that far back. I expect to see a little bit of movement through the field from him. Usually a much better driver than that, but sometimes, the qualifying just doesn't come together. I speak from great personal experience on that. But, the race comes together, and it's fun to run through the field. Let's see how he does.
Indeed. Well, we did see Gerling do that back at VIR, and he's qualified fourth today, so he's done a lot better job on that one. As they now come through the Casio Triangle, they're going to let that pace car head in, and it'll be up to Nix to wait for the start flag here as they come out of the final corner. Might take them a bit. It did the other day as well last week when we were covering the club class. There you see they're still trundling down at pace speed, and now they have the green flag as they accelerate towards turn 1. Very spread out field. Look at them fan out as well as they try to find track position down into turn 1. But will we get it clean through this right-hander double apexer that tightens as it goes? I'm not seeing any incidents so far, and I think we're going to get through it.
Yep, looks clean so far, even in the back of the field. We've got a good Noah's Ark happening back there, 2 wide, 2x2, going through that turn 1 complex, even up into the snake. And everyone's playing nicely so far. Now, watch the front of the field here. Everybody's kind of going in that single file, trying to just get their pace going. Remember, this is an hour-long race. We've got a good bit of time before anybody really needs to start making some moves. And there is also going to be a pit stop in this race. So that's going to play pretty heavily into people's strategy.
Well, and speaking of patience, I mean, it's a pretty overcast day out here, and the track temperature is only at 79 Fahrenheit, so it's probably going to take a bit for these tires to get up to a good working temperature, I imagine.
It'll take a little bit longer than usual, but not that much. I think by the end of the first lap, they should have decent tire pressure. They should have decent temperature in there. But by the time they're on their second lap, these things are going to be ready to boogie.
So just got to be careful here on this first lap around as they head through Spoon. Nick's already ahead of Binkley by 1.1 seconds, and Eskridge about a half second behind him to round out your top three. They hit the backstretch for the first time in anger. And so far, I haven't seen any major incidents, although Hillman does look to be a bit behind in the number 16, so he may have had some sort of spin there on the first lap. As they fly through 130R and hit the brakes down into Casio, Nick still leading the way.
Yeah, Binkley holding on fairly close behind, still about a second off. That is a lot of time to put out in just one lap. This is quite a long track, but I can tell you from experience, trying to open up a second in just that opening lap is challenging, and Nix has opened it up quite nicely. Now watch him as he goes down into turn one right here, this double right-hander. You've got to hit that apex right on the second one, and then you can pretty much put the hammer down. It's a light lift as they go up into that left-hander, and then it's just managing the throttle as you work your way through here. It's a lot of gentle, thoughtful application of wheel and throttle, and then you've got to get a little dab of the brake, turn the wheel, and then power down to go through the corner here to get up around and head into Denver.
Yep, looks like he managed it well. Binkley actually gained a little bit of time, it seems, as behind them, I just saw Andy Green get overtaken by John Gibson. So we're having a few changes for position a little farther down, but really not that thrilling of a start for the field. I'm sure they're happy to get settled in because this is going to be tough to try and manage it as we look a little bit farther back on board with Carl Boccieri here in 14th spot. That is Michael Adams just in front of him in the green, and David Palmer, who goes a little wide at the apex, but it looks like he manages it decently, although that green 56 is getting a little bit closer.
Yeah, and that's one of those places where you have a couple of different ways you can run the corner. You can either take that tighter line as you head down into here, into there, or you can go wider and try to open up your exit. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference. It's really up to the driver's preference and how much they want to defend going down in there. But right now, this is Draft City. So let's take a look here. That nice green Porsche we see coming up closer here, he's actually closing up there a good bit as they work their way down the backstretch.
But he falls off through the dirty air through 130R, so all that hard work undone ahead of him, though. Can he make the corner? Oh, my goodness! Palmer just overtook two cars in one go down into the braking of Casio Triangle. I thought he just overshot it and was going to fly through the chicane, but he made it stick.
He must have been listening to my comment about how the tires are going to be warm at this point. Look at that. He is at the top of sixth gear, gets that nose in there. Look at this beautiful run. Gets right up to the outside. Both the guys in front of him just fall into line. And he's like, thank you very much. I'll take that. And he's got a very clean pass going through. Very well done. Nicely seen. Nicely executed.
That was from a long ways back. So Palmer gets 10th place with that one. That might be a move of the season potential there, that one. So only 5 minutes into this race, can we get more action like that throughout the rest of it? As most of the drivers currently running line astern, Krutzler, one of them certainly, back in 74th. That's Mungia just in front of him in the number 907.
Yeah, we're on board here taking a look. Now, this is one of the more exciting sections of the course, and there is some time that can be made up right here. You can hit that inside curbing pretty hard, but then you've got to get the car brought down and hit this inside curbing, but watch the grass on the edge of that exit. That grass will really mess up your day, but you can run way out there as we watch here on board with the Silva, and coming up close behind them as they head into the hairpin. Now it's time to head down and try to defend. This is a difficult corner to defend. Watch this as Krutzler is going to try to set up. Watch him try to set up here on the left side. He's going to open it up a little bit. Nope, a little fakey. Wasn't close enough to make it. Now, let's see if we can catch somebody else trying to make this two-car pass as they come out of 130R.
That was De Silva in the green machine that went way out wide at Spoon and was appreciative of all the paved runoff that they have put out there. In fact, he's using it a bit to his advantage, I'd say, as he got a very good run on Bergzona, but he decides to back out by the time they get into 130R. Now behind him, Mungia thought about a shot of it, but no, it is going to be De Silva in the end after all, and he is going to find the apex. He's through.
Yeah, that same pass. So having the confidence in your tires, knowing exactly what's going on in front of you. And from the look on the wing there, they may be teammates to some extent, and because they have the same sponsor on the wing. So I'm going to guess they may have communicated that inside line is a good place to go if you want to make that pass.
They are once again just nose to tail out here. Bergzona, after that overtake, still has the threat of Krutzler, Mungia, Rosen, Preston, Smith all behind him, but there's very little passing usually through the S's at this stage. We'll see if anybody tries something a little more risky down into the hairpin. You talked about the interesting run into Degner. To be honest, it always scared me trying to steer the car into that first apex.
It does, but you have to use the curving to rotate the car, and that can be interesting, especially the way these cars are in iRacing. You don't have a lot of opportunity to mess with the setup here. You get a little bit with fuel levels, and you have some bars, but you don't have any ability to change your dampers, your shock absorbers. So the dampers have no adjustment at all in iRacing. As we take a look here on board with Jordan Daniels. Jordan's currently in P20 and got a little bit of Jeff Williams coming up behind. Behind him, though, it looks like, let's take a look back at Anker Bergzona, who has lost a position to Krutzler and may be losing another position, although he is on the preferred line here as we head down to 130R. Can he hold on to it? This is going to be a three-wide situation in 130R. Bergzona pulls out of it and lives to fight another day. I think that was probably the wise move on Anker's part there.
Oh, he's going to lose another one, though. Here comes Rosen, who unfortunately will actually overshoot it after we've seen other drivers manage to make it. He comes to a halt at the exit, bleeds off the time that he has to give back, and there goes Craig Smith and Ward Preston by, so they're going to earn that position off of him. Back up to P5 at the front, Andrew Elsom putting the heat onto Adam Gerling. This is for fourth spot right now, and really the best battle that we've got up towards the front of the field.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to take a look at this one out of the corner of my eye. Gerling is driving not so defensively. I think there's a little bit of confidence there that he's going to be able to hold on to the position. We've got Elsom taking these little peaks. If you watch, see how he's just kind of offset just a little bit, making sure those lights are visible in those side mirrors. That's an aggressive move that I like to do a lot. So it lets the person in front of me know that, hey, I'm coming to get you. There's going to be a pass here soon, and you're going to be where I was. So it's a little game you have to play to get into their head a little bit.
And Gerling is certainly one that is going to be tough because, as I mentioned, made up a lot of positions, started 32nd back at VIR and finished 17th. Robert Neville in 22nd position is currently trying to hunt down Jordan Daniels just in front of him as they approach Spoon Curve as well. Got to get that good exit off of this double apexer that just keeps going and going, nice and just flirting with that inside curb. Neville hits it just right. Is it going to be enough, though, as they pick up speed?
Yeah, I think he's way too far back here. This is a good distance. There's no way he's going to be able to pass him. Now, that being said, coming through 130R, depending on how they're able to nail that corner, that looked like they were both kind of holding off what they could have done. They didn't even use the curbing on the exit of the corner there.
Yeah, I'm sure some of this is just going to be survival today to get around this track so fast in some places, and it can bite you in a hurry. It's a good exit there from Robert, but I'm not sure if he'll do anything here into turn one. Doesn't seem like he's close enough. Someone in the background looks like they're having to defend hard. I think that might be De Silva, and indeed it is, over David Krutzler. We're going to watch from Frost's perspective down into turn one, but David's not able to do anything.
Yeah, Krutzler has been making some moves through the field here. Krutzler is up 7 positions already, and we're only just a few laps into this race. Still about 48 and a half minutes to go here. So this is really good movement from Krutzler. I'm suspecting there may have been a mistake or two that happened in qualifying, and probably should have qualified a little higher, but hey, or he's taking a play out of my playbook and doing the exact same thing I do in what seems like every race I'm in.
Back to Jason Finch once again in a bit of a train. Green and Gibson, and it looks like that's Yokel, I think, at the very front there in the number 8. So 4 in a line, all vying for 6th position. They've really dropped off the front of the field. It's a 3-second gap to the next one up in P5. So we'll see if any of them are being held up in this group. That's something we haven't talked about a lot because track position is so important here, Michael. I wonder if there are those that might have more to offer.
Yeah, now we're on board right here with Michael Adams. We're taking a look at Curtis Crummell in front. Now, this has been a bit of a tight race all through this. Now going just a little bit wide, but getting the car back on, trying to make that same pass, not going to happen. It's a little bit too late now. Everybody's gotten the message that, yeah, that's a pass that people are going to try. And Crummell is able to open that up just a little bit more than I think his Michael Adams was prepared for. So Crummell was able to get into that corner a little better. Coming back now to Charlie Boyer, started in 15th and is currently in 15th, looking on to Carl Boccieri. Now, Carl is, trying to get out there. Oh, it's Antonio De Silva misses something. I didn't see how that happened, but out into the grass, lost several positions. That's going to be a very difficult time. That puts Antonio back into P31.
Yeah, that one hurt. And is it the curb here? Yeah, kind of looked like that curb just maybe was a little too much for the traction. And off he went into the barrier. A light touch, so he'll be able to carry on. But like you said, he's literally at the back of the field now. So he's going to have to do it all over again.
Yeah, and I think he's got a little bit of a crunch on his left front that may be affecting his ability to turn in on those right-hand turns, like turn 1, like Degner, like Casio, like all the corners that seem to be important at this track.
Exactly. So as we watch with Craig Smith here coming out of Degner 2, it's got Preston, Bergzona, Frost, and Munguia in front of him. A little bit of a look, it seemed, by the red car Preston, but nothing doing. Look at that. We got a bit of a reverse stoplight going on with this 3.
Yeah, Bergzona in that caution amber light. Closing up here. Bergzona had a little bit of an issue earlier that we saw on the broadcast, trying to fight his way back. Looking actually pretty good. He's coming up on Mark Frost. That's the green car right in front of him. Wants to take that stoplight out of order, but I think Ward Preston has a different plan in mind, because look how close he's closing up there, showing a little bit of that light, that headlight, getting the nose in. Could have taken a little bit more curve. Now look at Bergzona way out there. I think that's probably going to be an incident point for being a little bit too far out. Won't get any slowdown penalty for that. But wow, nice setup coming through that last little bit of the Casio triangle. Puts the hammer down and actually opens up. Bergzona is able to open that up just a little bit.
Watching from Carl Boccieri. I'm going back to check on De Silva, because I just checked and he's got a meatball flag. So he's going to be forced to come in and take repairs. And it looks like he's doing that right now, actually off screen. So maybe he did hit a lot harder than I anticipated.
Yeah, he was having a hard time getting around turn 1-2 combination. So I think that damage was a bit more than it looked like. It looked like you were saying, oh, just brushed up against. No, apparently iRacing thought it was a little harder than that.
So back to Carl once again. This is Charlie Boyer that you see behind his rear wing, and that's Peter Yurtsa just behind him. A little bit of a look down to the inside, but I don't think that was a serious attempt out of the 23. In fact, like you talked about the multiple different lines, well, that one does not have a good exit apparently because he falls off the back of him a bit.
Yeah, taking that inside line is great when you're on attack, but you have got to be right up under the rear wing of the car in front of you to make that one stick. Now, it also helps when you're trying to work your way through that little bend just before hairpin. If you want to take that at a little bit extra speed instead of having that minor little lift that you sometimes have to do. But I think the tires are warmed up enough and have enough tread on them that there's no need to do a lift there. Possibly a little bit later when things start to get worn down and the fuel load gets lighter. It'll be fun to see what goes on there.
So Daniels is going to lift on his way into 130R. He lets Robert Neville up into 21st position. And then Krutzler thinks about trying to make it a 2-for-1, but no dice, although he does get him off the apex, tries to cut back underneath, tiny little bit of contact between them, and he's not going to fight this one either. Daniels just backs off.
I'm wondering what's up with Daniels. If he maybe had gone too wide, something had happened, looked like he was trying to bleed off time or something.
Yeah, that could have been. That's a good point. Oh, Urbesh in front of him. I just saw a car dropping down the order on the timing screen. The 19 looks like he had some sort of spin or something. He's got the car going, but he's lost a couple spots now and is in 20th.
Yeah, fell back down into 20th. Saw that happen too. It was there were too many things going on to be certain to watch what that was. But yeah, it looked like he got a little bit out wider than he should have.
Yep, just touched that AstroTurf, and that was it on that one. Jordan Daniels, so the one thing that honestly impresses me, my dogs would never not bug me if I let them stay in the room while I'm sim racing like that.
Yeah, mine is a little indifferent. His name is Kimi, so he actually takes quite along with that personality. He's like, yeah, okay, you do your race thing, I'll do my nap thing.
One of ours is named Lotus, and she's a garbage princess. So as we continue to watch Daniels here, we're going to jump away from him to Curtis Crummell in P12. Patrick Gill and Palmer looking a little bit feisty as they weave back and forth, trying to break the slipstream here. Palmer doesn't like that purple car, getting closer in the mirror, but he backs out as they hit 130R. Don't think they're close enough for move here into the braking for the chicane. Even still, Palmer does cover it off a little.
Yeah, Palmer covered off, but I'm wondering if Gill got out of the slipstream just to slow down a little bit and to have the downforce necessary to get the nose planted to get through that corner. There is a lot of time left in this race. We don't have to make any passes now. There are 41 minutes left. So watch this, though, as they're heading down into turn 1, closed up quite a bit and getting a little bit aggressive in the stance there, getting in those mirrors, paying very little attention to Curtis behind him. So Patrick looking at David in front.
Sorry, we've had an accident from Michael Adams, and he's prone across the track. I'm not sure if he can get it going. He's going to have to take a tow. I kind of saw this unfolding just behind the battle we were watching. He got some help, unfortunately, from Carl Boccieri. I fear that might get a penalty from the stewards.
Yeah, I would expect so. They are very good about real-time penalties here. Although that, honestly, that looks like, I would call that a racing incident. That was not anything major. There were two cars trying to take the same space. Let's take a look again here. Carl gets his nose down in there and is kind of backed out of it. It's a tiny little touch. Should not have caused that. That's a bummer, but I don't know that I would call that anything more than a racing incident. We'll see what the stewards have to say on that one, though.
It was Peter Yurtsa that came in late in that accident and T-boned him. Unfortunately, that probably put both of them in pit lane because Peter's in there and Adams have both taken tows now. By the way, we still have Daniel Nix up in the lead. Just hasn't been anything to report. Although I will say his gap isn't as large as I anticipated. It's lap 10, and he's up to 5.1 seconds. Considering he made a full second on that first lap, I would have thought maybe be just a little farther up the road.
Well, you make that first second to kind of
Yeah, absolutely. That battle for the 11th place is looking pretty spicy at this stage, as Gill is under threat and Crummell trying to size him up. Coming down into the first corner, not close enough. Going to have to be a little more side by side than that.
Yeah, this is going to be a good battle here. I think these guys are going to give us a pretty good show, because right now I'm watching Crummell get a nice run. Oh, I think that hit is going to elicit a penalty. That was a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah, saw an opportunity, saw a hole, but it closed. And Gill got sent out into the kitty litter. He's trying to trundle his way back onto the track. And Boccieri was given a black flag for the incident in turns 1 and 2, apparently. So the stewards disagreed with your assessment, and he is going to be sent down to pit lane to serve that one.
Yeah, that happens, and that tracks with the way the PCA stewards are. They are a no contact, no games going on here. If there is contact, you are going to serve a penalty. I'm used to the professional leagues where we're out there, and well, you've seen us on TV. We pretend there's no contact, but we have quite a lot.
Back to Gerling once again. Still in that 4th place. In fact, he's dropped Elsom and is now actually charging on Eskridge to see if he can get himself into the podium. Down into the final chicane. We're starting to get within the pit window, though we're not expecting many drivers to come in early. They tend to try and go as long as they can, but if need be, if someone does have damage, they can try and get that repaired. In fact, they do have a spare car that can help them get it all clean and ready to go and back fully up to speed. That would be Boccieri that's Adams, actually, that has fixed his car and is back out.
Yeah, nicely done there, braking at the end of the blend line so that it didn't disturb the other cars that were out there. But, a little bit too much mirror driving, I think. Looked like it, trying to not get in the way of those other cars and then falling off onto the grass on the outside. That was unfortunate. Probably could have still kept going. But now we're taking a look at Lee Binkley in P2. Got a giant gap in front of him, 5.5 seconds, and even behind, it's still over a second. It's about 1.25 seconds behind him. Actually in a very comfortable position. All he's got to do is just drive his drive, and he's going to be great.
I wonder if Michael Adams didn't manage to get the car fully repaired or didn't take his free repair, because after he parked it, he's now retired, unfortunately. And that is it for him. The first retirement of the race, interestingly. We've had a very clean one, I must say. So as Binkley leads Eskridge in his bright red and black 02. Like I said, Gerling's not that far behind Eskridge. Yes, it looks comfortable, but I wouldn't say this is something where they can rest on their laurels. A little mistake could easily bring them together.
Yeah, Gerling is going to be Binkley's best friend right now, because as long as Gerling is keeping pressure, even though it's like 3/4 of a second, that's good enough to keep pressure on Eskridge, where Binkley doesn't have as much to worry about, because, well, there's going to be a little bit of what's going on in my mirror on Eskridge's side.
Yeah, and more than that, Binkley's got that clean air in front of him as well, with nothing to mess him up. He can really focus forward and find the grip. But back here, Eskridge and Gerling going to have to fight for that one. That was a pretty good exit from Gerling. He's a lot closer now. Wonder if Eskridge had spun up the tires a little bit, and Adams going to take a big look down to the inside, but he's way too far back.
Yeah, that was a posturing move right there. Going into the first part of that corner combination, you can totally get away with that. But it's a great posturing move to get into the head of the driver in front of you. Now, let's see if he's able to hold that gap. He was down to about 1/4 second there. Now it's back out to about 4.5 tenths. He is just holding on to the edge at that point. So he wants to close this up, and he is getting a lot closer. I would say about 3 laps ago, it was over a second. So closing this down nicely, absolutely getting into the head of Eskridge.
By the way, Crummell did get a black flag for that contact earlier on. So now Curtis Crummell is going to have to come in and serve his as well. Continue to watch these battles here for third, fourth, and fifth as they come into the hairpin. Now it's Gerling's turn to be closer to Eskridge, along with Elsom starting to close that down, catching up to the pair of them. Is this going to become a 4-car fight soon?
Yeah, this is starting to get exciting on the final 2 steps of the podium. Looks like, yeah, way too far back, but this is still a good posturing position to be in, because now he's got a great opportunity to really put the hammer down and stick right up in the draft and get up underneath the wing as they work their way down towards 130R.
And well, when you've got 2-minute laps, 60 minutes can go by pretty quickly, because we're just about at the halfway mark of this race. So they're going to have to start thinking about how they want to play this strategy at some point, especially if they are struggling to try and get by. And what's very interesting is we heard some chatter before the race, Michael, about what to do with tires, because yes, obviously they should be able to go to the finish without taking them, but it's going to be marginal.
Marginal is, yeah, a good word for it. That left front's going to take quite the beating. The front tires here, especially the way we've seen them braking going into Casio Triangle. But we need to take a look here. This is a good pass attempt. Getting up over there. Got a little bit of overlap as they work down towards 130R. Now it's going to be a little game of chicken. Able to get around. That's going to be Carl Boccieri, I believe, who made his way around.
He passed Mark Frost, and Munguia followed him through. Now, I believe Boccieri took a penalty. So he has already been in and out, but he still needs to make a pit stop. And Krummel's now serving his penalty as well. So this is a recovery drive for Carl in that number 80, though this position is pretty legitimate. I just wonder if Frost figured he's probably faster, so not worth fighting him here. Where will Krummel come out? He's going to come out way behind, actually. He's still 26 seconds. Surely this isn't that long of a penalty.
I didn't see what the penalty was. I see that he was black flagged for the incident, but I don't see what the actual penalty was, anything more than just a drive-through.
Now, yeah, and I'm pretty sure usually they are drive-throughs, or if they're a stop and go, it's very, very brief. And he seems to have stopped what looks like for regular service, which will discount the black flag, and he still has to serve that. Now, he gets 4 laps to try and do so. He's already spent 2 of them. He can't dilly-dally here. He's going to have to come in post-haste.
But if I take a look here, it looks like his black flag is cleared from that.
Okay, well, maybe
I was on board with you. Yeah, I was on board with you thinking that wouldn't clear it, but maybe it did.
That's bizarre. Okay, well, down through 130R, a little bit of a side-by-side battle between Green and Gibson. I was kind of watching this earlier. It was just simmering, and Gibson was leading the way, but Green has now been challenging. They've got Jason Finch in there on top of it as they come onto the front stretch. Another good exit here from the silver car of Andy Green. It doesn't appear that he's going to be able to try and reel him in quite enough. So he'll sit behind at least for now. As did we have a problem for Craig Smith? Suddenly saw Craig Smith losing some spots here, and he seems very slow coming up the backstretch. I think he must have had an issue out of Spoon Curve.
Yeah, taking a look at the replay here, going in, looks pretty good. Looks like, is that Bergzana up in front there? Oh, just missed the apex on the second one. Got caught up in the dirty air, I think. So got out too wide, and then as he came back around, got caught in the dirty air when he was trying to make the second part of that corner.
Bergzana is now pitting what I'm pretty sure is a scheduled stop. So that should do him for the race. And we'll see if we get anybody else following suit, or is this just an outlier for the 248? Back to the battle we were watching before with Gibson leading Green. Still no change for position. Finch just sitting in wait, kind of, expecting them to try and battle at some point, and knowing he could pick up the pieces if need be. They're trying to catch up to Kevin Yokel in front of him, but that's been steady at 1.2 seconds behind that number 8 car.
I'm going to talk about the Eskridge Girling Elsum that we were watching a little bit ago. It turns out that Girling had opened it back up to about a second and a quarter or so, has closed it back down to right at half a second. So there is something about to happen there. This may be an attempt to get a run on him just in time to get in and get that new fuel and maybe tires. It'll be interesting to see what everybody does through there.
As he heads down into 1 and 2. Still a little too far back at this stage, as we're going to take a look back at Gibson, who's finally got enough of a run, and he's in front of him by the time they hit the binders. So looks like Green is going to be able to move into P7.
Yeah, nice clean move there. Green getting around, just getting on the inside, able to make that move, planting the car perfectly, getting in the head of the other driver a little bit, but I don't think this is over. I see a good bit of aggression coming from Gibson. Wants to get that position back. Like, okay, I let you through there because good clean racing like we do here in PCA. But you know what? It's not over. He's got 2 cars behind him. Green has 2 cars behind him who really want to get that position. So let's take a look at this for a little bit. I think we're going to see some good racing on these 3.
I went back and checked it on my own, and Gibson actually went just a little wide on the final right-hander. It's not usually considered a turn, more of an acceleration zone out of the chicane, but you can overcook it, and he did so, and that's what made him slow. And now Green has gotten past because of that. So as the drivers now work their way into the final 25 minutes. We've had a few that have really made up some big positions. The biggest of them is David Krutzler, actually, in the 74. You talked about him having a little more pace typically. Well, I'd say so. He's up 16.
Yeah, 16 positions. I was just looking at that. The next closest is going to be 11 from Steve Komatz. But Krutzler, wow, just putting down some clean and consistent laps. You can tell, if you look at it, you can tell when he's caught in traffic or whatever, but really doing a nice job. Now heading back up to P13, taking a look at Adam Holland here.
Krutzler was the only driver that failed to set a time in qualifying, so that's probably why he was as far back as he started. But yeah, here watching this fight between Williams and Holland coming towards the Casio Triangle. That's Steve Komatz that we mentioned briefly ago. Just in front of them. So a little out of arm's reach, but you never know, depending on the pace that they have and how hard they're going to fight here. But nothing doing coming out of the triangle, and I don't think that black and yellow machine is going to be able to try and challenge Holland into turn 1. This is for the 13th position right here.
Yeah, it's a little far back. You have got to be right up under the wing before or right as you get to where the wall opens up from pit lane if you're going to make that pass into turn 1. Now, just missing the apex there, getting a little bit offline. Doing okay trying to recover that, holding it tight, keeping a tight line. Now let's watch as they work their way back up the hill, heading towards Degner. Whoa, getting in really tight there. Actually had a really good rotation of the car coming around there. Now, here we come into the first part of Degner. Little dab of the brakes, bring it down to the 4th gear, get back on the throttle, use all that track outside, and then once again, bang right on that apex. Good use of the outside now. This is going to be a good opportunity, although still a little bit too far back to try to take that alternate line. No, I almost misspoke there. I would not have tried to do that, but hey, that actually worked out pretty well for him, so I might have to put that into my bag of tricks.
It almost looks to me like Holland maybe saw him coming and gave him a little bit of space at the apex. Because that was a dive from way far back there. I don't think that was intentional. Oh, and off into the AstroTurf a little bit. Holland's got to be careful. See if he can get the exit from the corner. Yep, it looks nice and smooth, but I've seen so many cars straddle that curb and touch that AstroTurf and then pay the price.
Yeah, that curb has a big drop off there, and it really affects the car negatively. It'll get that rear end to bounce, and there is no recovery from that point. But right now, looking at Daniel Nix back up front, Daniel is kind of holding on to about a 4-second lead. I think this is honestly just trying to chill, trying to not burn up the tires. I'm going to guess there may be an attempt here to go the whole race on a single set of tires. That would be risky from P1, and I think I might be even saving a little bit of fuel to see if I can force Lee Binkley in P2 to try to make the pit stop one lap earlier so you can figure out what they're doing.
Yeah, and Nix has also been dealing with some lap traffic as well. He's already gone by Yurtza and Gill, so that could have slowed him down somewhat as well. There you can see they're starting to get a little more spread out, although you got a few gaps in there that maybe some drivers will try to take advantage of when we start to get pit stops if they want to go early and hop in. Gerling in P4 chasing Eskridge. They've been in these two spots pretty much the whole race. In fact, top four have not changed positions since the green flag.
Yeah, it's been 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way down, and then 5 and 6 have only just flipped positions. So even almost back to 6, it's stayed pretty solid. Although the gap between 5 and 6 is pretty hefty at about 6 seconds. So I am curious about what's going to happen to that third position on the podium. Eskridge is holding on to it, but Gerling and Elsom, I think they've got a decent play for it, especially as we get into the pit stop rotation.
Indeed, down looking for something here into the Casio Triangle. Eskridge a little bit offline. Gerling not able to capitalize as they accelerate onto the main straight. Not seeing anybody head into pit lane amongst that group, at least for now. We had, a very strange incident, actually, between Neil Urbesh and Robert Neville. And there you see Urbesh coming back onto the course. I always forget the name of it. Is it 300R? No,
300R.
Yeah.
And 130R, yes.
So 200R doesn't really often see accidents, but we've got two cars side by side. Is there any contact? No, he just goes a little bit too ambitious to the outside.
Oh, good drift show, and then bang, nose into the wall. Fortunately, didn't get back onto the track and take out the cars that were trailing him.
Also, Jason Finch and John Gibson now have black and orange flags, and Finch has just taken a tow. Did we miss another incident? Oh, we did. Oh, we missed a big one here down into the into turn one. Just saw the replay there, and unfortunately, that is going to send at least Jason Finch in, and later Gibson, who's trying to drive the car back around, is going to have to at least pit in within the next 4 laps. In fact, you can see him having to take it very slow as he lets Charlie Boyer by.
Yep, lets him by. That is just rough. This track will bite you quick. The grass is right up on the edge, and there are a couple of spots where it just sucks you in and kicks the rear end of that car around, and there's not a lot you can do at that point.
Well, it started without a whole lot of excitement other than some ambitious passes that were mighty impressive. But now things are really kicking off as some of these drivers are finding this is a little bit too tough of a track for them. As we hop back with that battle for P3, the last step on the podium. Binkley running away from Eskridge once again, 3.7 seconds. Gerling still holding on, but Elsom, who was close behind them, has also dropped off. It's about 2.2 seconds. So, and then there were two that were fighting for P3.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to watch this. Gerling is much better under braking going into Casio Triangle, and I think is actually getting a little bit better speed as he goes through 130R. But the rest of the track is Eskridge's playground. Opens that gap up. We see it come down to about 5/4 somewhere around there as they're going through Casio Triangle. And even with a little bit of wheel lock up from Eskridge, it doesn't seem to matter. He's able to open it back up because it's up to 7/10. It was down to about 3. It's up to 7/10 right now.
And to add insult to injury for John Gibson, he had the black and orange flag. Now he has the all black flag from the stewards for his incident. And he is actually in taking service right now. I imagine he's going to take a spare car and then return to the track. But we see a few of the drivers have been in and out. Boccieri's taking a pit stop. And then Adam Holland as well has been in and out. So we're starting to see things kick off here for about the time we usually expect it, 20 minutes to go or less, when it's starting to become the end of the pit window. Let's see if Nix, as he's getting ready to finish his lap, is going to pit early, or is he going to just run that thing dry?
Yeah, kind of surprised to see Nix going as wide as he did at Spoon. I don't like to get out there in this car in iRacing. I think it gets a little bit too unsettled, but he was pretty wide as he went out there. Now, getting the nose down, putting the power down, going right past that pit entry, going for another lap.
Yep, nobody in the top group is pitting in this time. Everybody going to stay out. We're going to check in with Green and Yokel. And Yokel is going to pit. So there's another front runner that's going to give up the track position and see what it can do for them. Maybe take tires. Maybe they'll feel they can be a little bit faster here as he trundles down at pit lane speed. Oh, do we finally have a change for P3? Gerling's gotten by Eskridge in turn 1. I did not expect it to happen there. Did Eskridge make a mistake? Because he was way far behind him.
Yeah, that's surprising to see that happen. Let's take a look at the replay, though. It was the run out of the corner where Gerling normally loses a little bit of ground, but there's a car coming in from the pit exit right there. Look at that little bit of tire smoke. Couldn't quite get it woed down. Now that allows Gerling to get back by. Can Eskridge close this back up? Now the opportunity Eskridge has here is to be able to draft Gerling coming out of Spoon to head down to 130R and the Casio Triangle. Now everywhere else it seems like Eskridge is faster, unless that was just a little bit of game playing by Gerling, just trying to bide his time, save some tires.
That was some impressive hunting from Gerling. Just sat there forever, patiently waited, and didn't do anything foolish. And as soon as something happened, he snatched P3 off of Eskridge. But Eskridge is right there. It's not over. And on top of it, Gibson is a lapped car. So he's going to be a little bit in the way here. They don't necessarily need to be fighting him for position. In fact, I think he should leave them pretty soon. Let me see if he still has that black flag. No, looks like he's served it. So he's clear, and he doesn't have to come in again.
Yeah, looks like he's clear, and Gerling behind him. Gerling had several laps going through 130R behind another car, so very comfortable going through there. I think he's going to be all right. And now let's see if he's able to make the overtake. But, whoa, look at this. Oh, Gerling going into the pits. Gerling has decided to take the pit stop.
Honestly, I think that might be a good move if he feels like he's being held up. Speaking of being held up, Daniel Nix, I heard him get on the radio, so I wondered what was going on. I think he was slowed down by Neil Urbesh into pit lane, who's not quite as brave as Daniel to try and attack the cones. That may have given up a little bit of time. We'll only find out once all these pit stops are done.
Yeah, the crashing the cone is something that you see from the front runners. Everybody who's in those top positions is going to be hitting the brakes at that last possible moment getting out there. But maybe somebody back in the field isn't quite as comfortable getting that late on the brakes, and may even over slow and not quite be on the pit limiter when they're trying to trundle down pit lane. So that can be frustrating, especially for somebody who spent so much time out front like Daniel Nix did.
Yep. I wasn't as big of a fan of Attack of the Cones. I more preferred Revenge of the Slip, as they come now back onto the track, as most of the drivers have taken their pit stops. Eskridge stays out. Looks like Charlie Boyer stayed out. Jeff Williams, Jordan Daniels, and Robert Neville. But many of the front runners have finished, and it does look like Binkley caught by a second or so on Daniel Nix, so not too much of a drama.
Yeah, not too bad if you think about what the total time was there. So it'll be interesting to watch where this kind of plays out. So right now it's a 19-second gap from Nix up to Eskridge. It's going to be longer than 19 seconds to go from one end of pit lane to the other.
Not sure if we'll see much in the way of changes between here. Gerling and Eskridge, probably the big one that we want to watch out for, to see if they're going to swap back around, if Gerling's call to pit early will pay dividends. And not seeing any new penalties or new retirements. So very, very clean race out there. Despite all of our dramatics about saying how difficult this track is, yes, it's caught out the drivers, but it's not gobbled them up. Eskridge is in, though, and he's ready to take his scheduled stop. I expect we're going to be seeing the rest of them in with only 13 minutes to go. This should pretty much be the end of the pit window.
Yeah, as Nix comes around the final corner, going to make it past the finish line, putting the power down. I think he's got P1 back pretty solid here as Eskridge, yes, loses the position. We'll see if Binkley's able to pull up a position here, though. This is going to be the curious part. Is Binkley going to be able to hold into it? And yeah, Binkley's able to go around. Now Gerling was the next one. This is going to be the one that gets really tight. Gerling just gets around. That is right there, as you saw, it just gets around him, as we saw. Ooh, getting a little hot in there. Andrew also getting in just a tiny bit too hot onto, I think that was Eskridge, yeah.
It was made a little close for comfort, I think, for Gerling, because he was actually held up at pit entry by Charlie Boyer, who was pitting in while Gerling was not. He was trying to carry on and had to kind of dive out of the way a little bit there. So that cost him a fraction of a second or two, and he needed those because it's only 9/10 between them now. Elsom has definitely caught up on this fight, but they've all lost on Binkley, who's now 7 seconds ahead and looking very handy up there in P2. But the battle for the final step on the podium, that's basically been where the drama has been all day long, and it's still a question mark as to who's going to wind up with it.
Yeah, Elsom looking really good going into the hairpin, closing it up nicely onto Eskridge. Eskridge still got about a second up to Gerling. Now, is he going to be able to hold on to a draft as we come down through here? This is going to be going up into Spoon. Now, this is the tricky little bit right here. It's just kind of a gradual, slow down shift, and then you've got to be super precise about where you put on the power. And then this gets, actually, it's closing up just a little bit. Everybody's down right at a second. We've got Gerling, Eskridge, and Elsom all almost exactly a second apart. We should see a good bit of a draft effect as they work down towards 130R.
Is anybody going to be able to do anything? No, that's way too far apart from each other. Coming down into the break unless someone makes a mistake. It was off the apex there for Gerling at first. De Silva stays off to the side. Everybody gives him a little bit of a thank you. Oh, that was a very poor exit. Yeah.
Up to a quarter second. He's going defensive as they go down the pit straight here. This is a big defensive move. Great attack. Oh, this is going to get exciting as they go into the break zone. This is going to close all three of these up because we have our P3 and P4 offline. That's going to help Elsom close this right up. It was a second just a few corners back. Now everybody is less than a second, less than 3/4 of a second from the 21 to the 17.
I'm a bit surprised by that. Did he just spin his tires up or what? Because it's almost like Gerling just did not go.
He has not been getting the best of launches out of the triangle there. As he goes through Casio, he was closing up on Eskridge before, and then when they would come out of it, he would lose time again. So I think his exit coming out of the Casio triangle is just not quite as good, but that was a lot. That was from a second to right up under his wing. So I think there had to be maybe a little bit of tire spin up or something going on there that just didn't sit right.
Through the hairpin as they come out into 200R here. 10 minutes now left to go. I know we're not covering the leader all that much, but we can tell you that Nix has been pretty solid up there, and Binkley has now been doing likewise. Those two looking like they're locking down those top two positions at this stage. And we come onto the backstretch. There is some more traffic in front of them. Peter Yurtza is going to be the next one, and they're coming up to it not thick and fast, thankfully. It's just kind of one car at a time. But when they're racing this close, you can bet they're all looking for that one unpredictable opportunity.
Yeah, let's watch again. I want to see from maybe Eskridge's car, if we can watch to see what goes on with Gerling as he comes off this corner, trying to make his way around there. I don't think he had any wheel spin this time, although it looked like Eskridge got a little bit squirrely as he was coming out of that. So up into 5th gear, about to hit 6th. He has a good draft, but still 7/10, 6.5 7/10 off of Gerling heading down into turn 1.
And Ankerberg Zona is the latest to feel the wrath of the stewards. It's become a black flag for careless driving. And didn't quite see the incident involved in that, but we'll see if we can figure out what that was related to out there. So he's already down in 22nd position. Just kind of a miserable day made worse as these 3 now exit out of the S's and into Dunlop. And I think we've got something for Bergsona. Is this for the pit exit?
Yeah, it looks like as he's working his way out of the pit, maybe not checking his minute. Oh, no, there we go. Oh, there's a return right there coming back across the track. Oh, yeah. Yeah, good call. Yeah, and it took out the other car there. That, well, it didn't take him out completely, but there's definitely some damage from that wall contact.
Yeah, I think there was some net code involved in it, but that doesn't matter. I think even without that, it would have been a scary moment regardless. So I completely understand their call on that one. And I think he's coming in to serve that pretty soon. Back to Nix. He's got now 7 seconds over Lee Binkley, who's starting to blink a bit on my screen. Now it's solidified, so I think he's okay now. I really hope that doesn't continue. I don't want to see him lose that second place unceremoniously here at the very end of it. Nix is going to complete lap 25. They're going to be just shy, I think, of 30 laps in this event, with it being just over those 2 minutes to circulate around this place. But the bright pink lights for the number 24 sim rig as it lights him up. Going to be checkered flags soon and celebrations. Again, he's leading the championship, but so far it's narrowly because of the drop points and because of some lack of attendance of everybody else. Back to Lee Binkley here, and not seeing any blinking now, so maybe it was just a one-off there that he had some issues. And he's got 6 seconds, it looks like, over Adam Gerling on top of it. Top 2. Just kind of on another planet today here, Michael.
Yeah, indeed they are. And like you were saying, those races where they didn't make it, one of the biggest things you can do to improve your chances of winning a race is show up.
Advice from Michael Johnson there. So as we come down into turn 1 and watch Boyer and Jeff Williams. Remember, we saw Boyer have a few close calls a little earlier on, but he's finished his pit stop not long ago. He's back out rolling for the final few minutes, trying to see if he can reel in Jeff Williams, but he's got to make up a bit. Meanwhile, Andrew Hillman back here in the fight with Ward Preston for 19th. That was in a 130R. Preston basically won that game of chicken.
Yep, nice game of chicken there. Another big shout out for David Krutzler, who's up 20 positions now. He's up to P11. There he is on your screen, number 74. Good race. I mean, cutting through, as we talked about, he didn't have the qualifying time. So starting from the back and making his way through, it's a lot of fun to do that. Although that's a little more dirt than I like to see coming out of Degnar.
Yeah, that's kind of flirting with disaster right there. Gerling and Eskridge were being held up a little bit by lap traffic, but they did get by. And now Elsom has kind of lost it in a bit of that skirmish. So he's fallen away to 1.5 seconds behind this pair. He's going to have to make up quite a bit if he wants to make a dent or capitalize on the two of them battling, because I don't think this one is over. Oh, and Elsom must have had another problem. Andy Green just got by him in the background.
Ooh, indeed he did. Wow, look at that. Wow, okay, now this is getting to be really interesting. I didn't see anything happen, but Elsom is now a quarter second behind Green. Green is up 5 positions on the day. So Green trying to make some moves here. I don't know if Green has it in him to get up to 3rd, but this is an impressive run so far.
I went and checked. Elsom had a slip up on the exit of Casio. Just went a little bit wide, got into the AstroTurf, and that cost him some traction. So that's how Green was able to jump up, just was close enough that as soon as that car slowed, he could fly past him on the front stretch. So down into Degner 1 and 2. Once again, I don't know if Green should have anything here. Oh, Elsom's gone off again. There he is in the background.
Ooh, maybe overdriving a little bit. I didn't see any contact, but I was honestly paying a little more attention to the way Green was attacking the corners there. Let's take a look at the replay, though.
This was, I think, out of Degner 1. I wonder if he just went a little too hot into there. Yeah, that is nowhere near the apex.
Yeah, my kingdom for an apex. I know it's around here somewhere.
So that's what sent him off, and he didn't lose any other positions from that, but he definitely lost the chance of trying to fight back on Green, because now it's 8 seconds between himself and Andy. Kevin Yokel instead is now on the attack on the number 17 as we come down the back stretch. Leaders crossing the line now. We are going to get 2 to go here.
Yeah, the leaders, again, up front, we're looking at about almost a 9-second gap from P1 to P2, another 5 seconds back to Gerling in P3. That's where it starts to get tight. Eskridge has been playing anywhere about 9/10 up to about 3/10. Ooh. I wonder if that car is damaged.
Honestly, my guess is he did not take tires.
There you go.
Yeah, because that's a couple times now that it's looking like he can't find traction in a number of ways. Coming off the corner, going into the corner, you name it. It just looks like the car does not want to go where he's telling it to.
Now, something interesting with the way iRacing has done the tire model here is if your tires get down to 0%, it treats that as a flat. You have a puncture. So now you really can't go, and you have to keep your speed very, very low and trundle your way back around to the pit lane to take tires. I've seen it happen once, and I was really concerned with what it was. But yeah, you end up getting a meatball flag that says you have to go in.
Yeah, so now he is close enough that even if he does get that meatball flag, he could take it to the finish and won't get penalized. But I'd only do that, I think, if he was on the last lap here, because I don't think he'd be able to go fast enough with that flat tire to be able to get to the finish and not lose tons and tons of positions. But this man, Daniel Nix, seems to have managed those tires quite well. He's still running pretty competitive laps. He's a little bit off of the pace that he had at the start of the race. His best is a 2:03.9, and right now he's running high 2:04s and low 2:05s. So he's given up a little bit, but I mean, I don't think he's all that concerned as he comes around for the white flag here, because like you said, it's over 8 seconds between himself and his nearest competitor.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time. I mean, this is going to be the last lap with only about 1:10 to go as he crosses the finish line. He's going to look at that car up in front of him and go, I'm not touching it, because how much of a gap do I have behind? Taking a quick look at his relative, he's going to see a big 8.5, 9-second gap. So he has no reason to push right now, but you don't want to back off too much, because then you fall out of your rhythm. You end up picking up some grass somewhere and end up spinning the car. So I don't think Daniel Nix is going to make that mistake.
Certainly not. We've lost to Silva about 3 minutes ago. I don't know what for, but he's been in pit lane taking repairs. I suspect he's going to be our only second DNF unless we get someone else at some stage. But it's all kind of dwindled down to this, where Nix just has to kind of cruise to the victory with that massive gap that he's built up. Gerling over Eskridge is actually sitting extremely comfortable now. It's 2.5 seconds between those two. So Gerling did get up on the podium in the end, as long as he completes this next lap. And as the clock ticks down to 0, Nix just has basically about 30 more seconds to go.
Yeah, we need to get back to Green, though. Green has closed this up on Eskridge. It is down to about 3/10, and it is nose to tail. This could be a tire story right here. The 42 has closed this up to almost nothing. With this being the last lap, I think he's going to have to go through here. This is going to get pretty crazy. Now is his opportunity. Look at this, getting around the outside of him, getting up in. Oh, just a little bit too hot. Oh, and he locks him up. Can he recover from this, though?
He gets back onto the track, but that was a massive, massive lockup. The tire's going to be screaming. Hopefully he can bring it to the finish, as here comes Daniel Nix through the Casio Triangle one last time. Going to take himself a win here at Suzuka in Event 3 for the PCA Sport Class.
Yeah, but we got to get back to Green. Green has closed this back up. This is going to be really tight. Takes that inside line, puts the power down. Looks like Green gets around him and takes the position, ends up P4.
I wonder if Eskridge ran out of fuel or something there. That was very, very strange for him to let him by. We'll try and investigate that in a bit. Does look like that there's not going to be any change here between Yokel and Elsom. And I rode on board with Eskridge. It didn't sound like the car was sputtering, so just did not want to go off the line. As we come back now to the battle between Boccieri and Neville. This is for 13th.
Yeah, taking a look at these guys here. Boccieri had a little bit of issue before, but Neville trying to close it up, taking that inside line, tries to cover him off, getting into the corner. Oh, a little bit too much brake from Carl Boccieri. Tries to get the power down, get back around it, but nope, it looks like that position is going to go to Neville.
A little bit of side-to-side contact, but that wasn't really through the corner. It was just as they were coming to a slow there for the corner, so not sure if he'll get a penalty for that, but lick the stamp and send it. I think Robert Neville was the postman today as we come back once again. And the battle between Mark Frost and Andrew Hillman. Hillman just in front in 20th, and it looks like he's got that one as he accelerates to the line, and Frost is not able to overtake. That's the last of our battles, maybe, or not. Finch versus Gill for 23rd. Gill's got him. So Gill takes P23, and 26 cars finish on the lead lap. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. A little earlier if that's going to be the case. He's actually got a nose ahead as they come down into the braking zone. He's going to do it the hard way.
If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. At the Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange.
Welcome back to Suzuka after Event 3. Daniel Nix, who is already leading the points, is going to extend it, taking it another victory, and in pretty solid fashion. Didn't seem like anybody could touch him today. Lee Binkley was second, also out in the middle of nowhere. But Gerling had to fight for that P3. He did get the podium in the end, going up one. And it was Andy Green who gained 6 spots today to be just outside of that. Ken Eskridge was the one fighting most of the race with Gerling, but just kind of fell off at the end of the race. Elsom did as well. They seemed to struggle with some sort of issue with his tires, but still finished where he started in 6th. Kevin Yokel was P7 and David Palmer was 8th. Jeff Williams up 11 to finish 9th. Charlie Boyer finished 10th.
Steve Kometz, not to be outdone, up 12 positions to P11, followed by Jordan Daniels. Robert Neville behind him. Carl Boccieri brings it in on 14th. David Krutzler, though. Krutzler brings it up 16 positions on the day. Behind him, Curtis Crummell, Will Mungia, and then Craig Smith, Ward Preston, and Andrew Hillman round out your top 20.
Mark Frost was 21st, and then it was Adam Holland 22nd, Patrick Gill P23. From there, Jason Finch finished 24th. Gibson, despite a penalty, did finish on the lead lap in 25th. Rosen was the last one on the lead lap in 26th. Get to cars that kind of had bad days with Yurtza 27th, Urbesh 28th, and Bergzona 29th, with De Silva and Adams being your only DNFs. We're going to talk to Daniel Nix to see how he felt about this race, because it certainly looked like it wasn't too majorly eventful for him. Daniel, you kind of ran away from the field a little bit, although at times they were catching up. Were you just managing things? Or was it ever in any sort of doubt?
No, never had any doubts. We were just managing tires, so we didn't have to take tires.
Well, that kind of explains that a little bit then, because we did see them catching up at brief moments. It looked like most of the traffic was actually pretty well behaved. Not many of them even got lapped. Did you have any problems trying to attack them? Because I did see at moments it looked like they may have cost you a 10th or two.
Hey, it was clear skies. The one car I had to pass made a great opportunity for me to pass. Didn't lose any time there, but I almost had a race-ending situation. When I went into the pits, there was a car stuck in the pit lane. So I lost 3 seconds trying to get into the pits, and thankfully he got his car out of there. But yeah, that gave us a big scare. We thought it was over. So thankfully we got through there, and we had a big enough lead that it didn't crush us. But had the race been a little closer, that would have been the end of my race.
I did catch that. I don't think we saw the replay on screen, but I was able to see it in iRace, and it did concern me. Next time out, we're going to Spa, and I've heard that they've announced it is in the GT3R. That sounds like a fun combo.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to do it, and like always, we put in the time and the energy to train, and my coach, Jesse, is doing great. Everyone at PCA is doing great in teaching us and coaching us to be better. And just want to thank my wife and everybody that supports me, Porsche Exchange, Podium. All you guys are amazing. The organization is fantastic all around. So I'm excited to go hit it and get another win in a couple of weeks.
Well, we look forward to seeing if you can manage that. Congratulations on extending your points lead.
Yeah, thank you.
Daniel Nix, obviously excited about how this season are going for our second place finisher, Lee Binkley, as Michael has caught up with him.
Indeed, I have. So, Lee, not to say that it was a boring race, because I think at the beginning of the race, there was a hope, at least, that you could hold on to Daniel until he opened it up like a second and a half on the first lap. And then it was just you opening up the gap on, I think it was Eskridge behind you. So the rest of the race, kind of a Sunday drive? Lee, you with us?
Might have to try and see if he can get him mic'd up here in a second. We'll give him a moment to see if Lee can get the microphone working. Sometimes this is the nature of the internet. Not everybody knows that they've got things all ready to go. So, Lee, do you got a copy? Well, we might have to talk to him in a little bit here. So I do believe we have Adam Gerling ready. So I'll give a chat with him while we wait for Lee Binkley to try and get things sorted out. Adam, with a lot more action to talk about, you waited so patiently behind Eskridge there on the first part of the race. Was that something where you were waiting for that sort of moment because it was difficult to get close to him, or what was your method there?
Ken drove a really good race, and it was he didn't give a lot of chances, and this race was all about preserving tires. So I was happy to settle in there for a little while and wait it out. Eventually, I got lucky when he went a little wide trying to get past a lap car, and managed to stay ahead.
Now, this is obviously a marked improvement now that you managed to get a qualifying lap in compared to what you saw at VIR. Do you think you can recover from the poor performance at VIR, or is that going to be difficult on your championship hunt?
Well, let's see. I'm not really thinking about the championship at this point. Just trying to drive well, and we do have a dropped race, so we've got 5 more to go. We'll see how things pan out.
Well, I have to say I'm impressed with the way that you've both fought forward from towards the back in the previous race and been able to race up at the front and show extreme patience. How do you feel heading off to Spa next week? Or, 2 weeks from now, I should say.
Excited for Spa. Love the track. Who doesn't? We'll be back in the GT3R, so another car change, but should be a good race. Looking forward to it.
Well, we are too. Congratulations on a hard-earned podium today.
Thank you, and thanks to the broadcast team, and thanks to Race Control and our sponsors.
Well, thank you very much. It was Adam Gerling finishing P3 today. Does sound like Michael has managed to get Lee Binkley all hooked up and ready to go. Let's go to him.
Indeed, I have. So, Lee, do you have a copy? Are you able to talk to us?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good. So I was asking before, seemed like the beginning of the race that Daniel Nix just took off away from you, and then you pretty much had it well in hand to manage the gap behind you. There was, I think, the closest anybody got was about 2 seconds behind you. Was it just sort of a Sunday drive for you at that point?
Well, it wasn't a Sunday drive. It was difficult track with a difficult car. It was slippery. It was more like damage control. Congrats to Daniel there. He had a pace I couldn't match, and so like you said, I was just trying to maintain second and watch the guys behind me.
So were there any issues with maybe lap traffic or anything that made it seem like, oh, I might lose this position, or did it feel pretty comfortable through the entire race?
No, I have to say that I was pretty much by myself, which made it a little easier to try to focus on hitting those marks and being consistent, which I do struggle at, but worked out for me.
Indeed, it did. So Spa is where we're going next. We'll be there in 2 weeks in the GT3R. What are your thoughts on your chances there?
I really have no idea. I haven't even done much practice there yet, but I'll certainly get with it and see. I've been there before in different cars, but we'll just see how it goes. Just got to get in the practice time.
Well, a big congratulations on a very solid P2 this week. Well earned. Who do you have to thank for this?
Oh, me, that's a big list. First, I have to thank my wife because she allows me the time and encouragement to do this hobby. The secret is practice, and she is very supportive of that. I'd like to thank all my friends there at Jakester Racing, all my buddies at Spanners Motorsports. That would be Gary, that would be Sean, that would be Dean. I appreciate all their support and input. I'd like to thank my friends at Rooster Racing. I'd like to thank the PCA, the steering committee, all the hard work, all the volunteers, ED instructors, and of course, Podium there, and our sponsors. Can't forget the sponsors.
Well, that was Lee Binkley. Lee, thanks for being here. Congratulations again on the P2. With that, I am going to hand it back to Joe Peak.
Which is going to wrap us up for the evening. So make sure and join us here again on tomorrow night, April 20th at 9:25 p.m. Eastern for the Challenge class. We'd like to thank our sponsors for Series 10. That, of course, is the Porsche Exchange and Six Sigma Sim Racing. A big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, and a huge thanks to our team tonight, Michael, Ryan, Cameron, and Dougie. Also, none of this is possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and Sean Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.